Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday. My name is Sally Garozzo, and this is the place to be to get inspiration and motivation on how to have more inner peace and fulfillment in your life. So today's session is called How to Control Those Pesky Negative Thoughts so that you can keep vibing high. So this session is for you if you know you shouldn't be thinking negative, but you can't really help it. You need some clarity as to why those negative thoughts are there, why they keep coming up, and what you can do about them. And you need an answer that you might not have heard of before. So the idea for today's topic came from a lady called Anja Moncrieff, who is a hypnobirthing and pregnancy coach, and you can find her on Instagram. She's very active on Instagram. She's also a long-standing client of mine. She used to come and see me when I lived up north, when I was teaching singing. So go check her out if you have an interest in that field. And if there's something that you want me to cover on Mindset Monday, please do let me know. Please send me a direct message and I will give you a shout out at the beginning as well. So just want to start with a little bit of housekeeping actually. So I repurpose these videos for YouTube. That's why I don't do that much interacting on here. So I will come back. And I will type out the comments, type out responses to your comments after I finished, and this is just to ensure a good flow is kept. Okay, so do grab a notebook and pen and let's dive into this together. So, we all want to be more positive, I presume, yes? And we all know that it's better to be positive than it is to be negative so that we can keep our vibration, our energetic alignment, so we can keep ourselves in alignment with ourselves. We can keep our energy high, and we need to keep ourselves in alignment with the truth about what is actually available to us and what's coming for us so that it can manifest. When we feel positive, we feel better, okay? Because our neurochemistry, all our body chemistry is working much better. And all of those meaningful coincidences that pop up in our lives tend to make our life run very smoothly indeed. But it's easier said than done, yeah? However hard you try, those negative thoughts just keep on returning like whack-a-mole. They just keep popping up. They are so stubborn, they are so pesky, and there is a reason for that. And that reason is that we are wired to be negative. We are wired to be negative because negativity prevents us from taking too many risks. And if we've taken too many risks in the past and it's not worked out for us, negativity protects us and prevents us from making those mistakes again. So negativity says, oh, you know, once bitten, twice shy, not going to go back there again. So my teacher, Marissa Peer, says it's okay to have some negativity, to be negative some of the time, as long as you're making the effort to be positive some of the time as well. So she says 10% negative, 90% positive. Now, I tend to believe in the 80-20 rule. So I would probably adjust that slightly and say it's okay to be 20% negative and 80% positive. If you haven't heard of the 80-20 rule, just pop it into Google and you'll see what I mean when I talk about that. Most things are 80-20. Okay, so I'm going to give you my thoughts around this topic, and if you continue to watch to the end, I'm going to give you my actionable steps as well. So, here's the thing. While you're being negative, it's really important to not beat yourself up over being negative. So don't be negative about being negative, okay? Why? Because you can't help it. You cannot control your negative thoughts when they are on the way in. Okay, let me explain this a little bit. So, thoughts flow, okay? Because thoughts are energy and energy has to move. So your thoughts flow in, your awareness catches them, you then mull them around for a while, or maybe you stew on them for days and days and days and you can't let them go, and then they flow out, only to be replaced by another thought on the way in. This is what your brain does, and your brain cannot stop this. Thoughts flow in, they stay for a while, and then they flow out. They should flow out anyway. It's when they kind of get stuck in that they become a problem. So your negative thoughts on the way in to you are a result of your subconscious programming, which is a result of your childhood, your cultural conditioning, and how much you've repeated something over and over again, which has made this particular belief or program go on automatic pilot. Okay, so childhood, culture, and just how much you've been repeating the same old in your brain over and over again. So in order to affect or to change your thoughts on the way in, you actually have to reprogram them, which can be done through hypnotherapy, of course, or by repeating something enough times that eventually you change the habit, because your mind always learns through repetition. So in a moment, I'm going to tell you how you can change your thoughts using the treatment modality that I use, which is RapidTransformational Therapy. But before I do, I want you to remember that part of you that is wired for negativity, that 20% part of you that is wired for negativity, has to be respected. Okay, it must be acknowledged and it must be respected. Okay, so just put all of that in a box. Now, the most interesting part of this equation is the fact that once your thoughts have flowed in and you have become aware of a negative thought, you then become the custodian of it. I was going to say that again. Once a thought, any thought, a negative thought, because we're talking about them, once it's flowed in and you have become aware of it, you become the custodian of it. Okay, so there are two things that we're going to unpack in that. Firstly, the word aware, so becoming aware of a negative thought, and secondly, the word custodian. So let's talk about awareness first. So I'm sure you've all heard of the saying, ignorance is bliss, right? And I believe this is partially true in a manner of speaking, but I also believe that ignorance is bliss. That idea is very, very destructive, because ignorance doesn't set you free. What does set you free is awareness. But with awareness comes responsibility. And that's why a lot of people feign ignorance, because they don't want the responsibility. So ignorance keeps them in this kind of blissful, unknowing state. Now, when we become aware, let me rephrase that now. We become aware when we become conscious of what types of thoughts we are thinking. Okay, so you might be incessantly thinking, planning, constantly planning, judging, creating, inventing, ruminating. You might be being remorseful. So the kind of light-hearted, fantasizing type thoughts are pretty harmless, but those destructive, ruminating thoughts and remorse and shame and guilt thoughts around that become very destructive. But when we shine a light of our awareness onto them, we reveal them, okay? And then we can no longer hide from them. And this is a great responsibility, because once we've become aware of something, we then have to sort of put the effort in to do something about them, right? So what is this awareness that I've been speaking about? I want to unpack this a little bit. And if you really, really, really want to understand about this awareness, then I would say study Eckhart Tolle. But I've been reading a book, and some of you may have read it. I've been reading a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, and I'm going to share some of my thoughts on awareness based on this book. So your awareness is your consciousness. It's the part of you that has always been there right from the moment that you were born. Some would say before. It's the part of you, as Eckhart Tolle would say, that is formless. It's the part of you that experiences through your senses. So it's not the senses themselves, but it's the awareness you are having of those sensory experiences. It's the part of you that knows that you are aware. So I just want you to let that sink in for a little bit, because it's quite a head fuck, if I may say that. It's the part of you that knows you are awake, you are aware, you have choice, you have options, you can change things, you are conscious. And this is what sets us apart from some other animal species, in that humans have this extra spectrum, this extra level of cognition to know that we are aware of ourselves, to know that we know, so to speak. Now, connecting to that part of you that is aware, that exists, Michael Singer says that part of you, it's almost like it's in the middle of nowhere. And I believe that constant connection to this part of you that is in the middle of nowhere, that is just pure awareness, is the key to unlocking the solution of what to do when those pesky negative thoughts arise. Because if you can be aware that you are aware of them incoming, you can choose to literally observe them rather than get involved with them. So Michael Singer says in his book, there is this unique, special point in time where your negative thoughts and your consciousness touch. That bit there, that bit, that gap where my hands are right there, that is that point in time that we need to be really, really astutely aware of if we are to unlock the secrets to not engaging with our negativity. So what happens is these negative thoughts come up and you become aware of them. And so your awareness touches the negative thought. Now, most people start feeding these negative thoughts with their awareness, and you start engaging with them, which sets off all manner of biological and psychological responses in your nervous system and neuropeptides and all of that. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is to notice that point where the negative thought and the consciousness touches, and then decide to stay conscious. So what do I mean by that? I basically mean just watch them. So you watch them whilst keeping your attention on the fact that you are simply watching them. So you watch them, then you keep your attention on the fact that you are watching them, and then you decide with 100% conviction, passion and motivation that nothing is going to stand in the way of your happiness and your inner peace. And then you decide to let them go. And you let them go because you choose to believe that they are old news, they are not true, there's nothing true about your potential within those negative thoughts. And if any aspect of those thoughts are true, then you can extract a learning from them and just use it as constructive feedback. Okay, so there's a lot in that I've just said, and you might want to stop this and you might want to write it down because it sounds simple, but it's not easy. And this isn't something that you do just once. This is something that you do kind of every minute of every single day. So this is something that you have to remember, okay, until it becomes a habit. And, you know, this letting go, this choosing to let go, is something that you have to do minute by minute, day by day. Now, there will be a part of you that really does not want to let go, whether it's frustration, whether it's depression, whether it's negativity, whether it's resentment, whether it's anger, especially anger. It will be feisty and it will be resistant. This is the ego. The ego thinks it's so important, but of course it's not. And I had this experience the other day when I was being triggered by something and I knew I had to let it go, and I really, really didn't want to. I was having a conversation with my partner, and I knew that in order to work through this issue that we were having, I had to drop my shit. I had to drop my ego and come back to a kind state of mind, a compassionate state of mind. And it took about 3 minutes, I would say. So during the conversation, I had to close my eyes, take a breath, and really set an intention that no matter how much I wanted to feed this self-righteousness, this trigger, I wasn't going to, because my inner peace and the peace of our relationship was more important than me feeding my ego. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was really, really difficult and challenging, but very, very successful. Had a really successful outcome. So it literally looks like, you could be shaking with the trigger, with the disturbance. And it looks like you shutting your eyes, taking a breath and really talking yourself down from that ledge. Okay, so I want to go back to that other word that I mentioned, and that word was custodian. So a custodian is somebody who has a responsibility. And who takes care of something, takes care of business in order to ensure the best possible outcome. So a custodian is like a guardian angel, so to speak, or a gatekeeper, or a goalkeeper, if you like, a sports metaphor. So in the same way that a goalkeeper stops the ball from going into the back of the net, when you become aware or come into contact with your negative thoughts, you become a custodian of them, and your aim is to try to prevent them hitting the back of the net. Okay, which in this case means your aim is to stop your consciousness getting enmeshed with them. Okay, so you are the custodian, and I love that word. So Michael Singer uses the word disturbance to mean that feeling within you when a trigger has hit you and it has stayed with you. So, we all have various triggers. It might be, a client cancelling or a date cancelling, or it might be something that you've seen on television that reminds you of a mistake you made in the past, or just generally things not being okay. So there is a point that your awareness touches the disturbance. And if you, aka the awareness, doesn't do anything about it, the likelihood is that the disturbance will pull your consciousness into it, because in order to keep it alive, it needs to be fed. It's like a vampire, and it needs to be fed with the power of your consciousness. So it is at that point that your consciousness, touches the disturbance that you have a choice. And that choice must be to pull away from the disturbance, which translates as letting go. Deciding that you will let nothing get in the way of your happiness or your well-being, not anything. So what am I saying here? So once a negative thought or a feeling has come in, and you've become aware of it, it's your job to then stop your consciousness from being pulled into it. And how do we do that? How on earth do we do that? We have to silence ourselves. We have to stop. We have to do that thing. We have to breathe. We have to choose. But ultimately, we have to decide. And it helps if you can, in that moment, just put your feet on the floor, breathe into it, and give yourself a good old talking to. It really is about making a decision. and decisions come with passion. So you decide that nothing is worth you getting entrenched in that negative story. And if there is something in there that you can learn from, like I said before, you simply extract it, you face that slight discomfort or even that embarrassment that might arise out of this constructive lesson that you're learning, and you then decide again to let go of that. You're always, every minute of every day, deciding to let go, let go, let go, let go. What's important, what's not important? What can I just let go of? What can I surrender to every minute of every day? Even fear. Pardon me. Because the truth is, you can perceive anything any way you like. As my friend Kirsty was saying, you know, rain is just rain. You can perceive it as miserable, soggy, uncomfortable, cold, but ultimately rain is just rain. So in a moment, I am going to conclude everything I have said, and I'm going to give you at the end some actionable steps to help you integrate this. But before, I want to show you how the therapy that I do, how RTT can help you shift those negative thoughts on the way in. Okay? So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a rapid transformational therapist, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm a well-being coach, and I help people really to move past negativity, blocks, fear, whatever it is that is holding them back. And I do this through using the power of the subconscious mind. So rewiring your mind for whatever it is that you want in your life is totally accelerated through this rapid transformational therapy process. And it's a 2-hour process done under hypnosis, which really does utilize the phenomenal power of the subconscious mind. And I've done loads of videos on the subconscious mind. If you want to check them out, just go to my website, sallygarozzo.com, and have a look at the free trainings, or I think it says videos actually, that's the link. So in RTT, when I've got a client with me, we can do the deep work that just pure coaching doesn't touch. So when I work with a client, we go back to scenes in your life, in your childhood, where you might have learnt a belief about yourself, where you might have learnt how to be negative, where you might have learnt how to be critical, how to shut yourself down, how to not follow your dreams, how to think of life as something to be scared of rather than something to be embraced. And from there, we can change it. We can untether you from that programming, and we can reinstall new beliefs, new programs, ones that you have chosen, ones that you prefer. Now, it's important to do this deep work, because when we do this deep work, especially when we pinpoint where our beliefs have come from, we get so much clarity, and that clarity gives you awareness. So it really is one of the most, RTT for me has been one of the most powerful transformational tools that I have personally come across. And I've had lots of different therapies, and RTT has been the one that has really stayed with me and really changed my life. And I love it. I love it so much, and my clients love it because it is rapid and it's rooted in the science of neuroplasticity. And it works with the emotions as well, not just your logical thinking mind. It works with the emotions, and emotions are powerful because it's only until we get to the emotions that we have enough leverage to really spark change. We know we shouldn't do a certain habit or behavior, but until we really feel it emotionally, we don't have enough commitment or motivation to change. So if you decide that RTT is something you want to investigate, I just want to tell you what happens if you work with me. So first of all, we have a phone call, a discovery call, to really get super clear on what it is that you want. We then have the 2-hour RTT process, which is done with me in my flat, or when I say my flat, I mean my therapy room in my flat, or it's done online via Zoom. Then after that, you get a personalized hypnosis recording that you listen to. You must listen to this for 30 days post-treatment, and I set it to lovely binaural music to help you go really, really deep and have a beautiful, wonderful theta nap every single day. And while you're having that theta nap, your subconscious mind is literally rewiring your thoughts and beliefs for you. There's no effort involved. Then you also get WhatsApp support. So if something's not going as it should, you can reach out to me rather than your old habit or behavior, and I will coach you through, a bit like your pocket therapist. And you also get 2 coaching calls with me as well. So it's a complete package. So one RTT session is like working with me for a month. Most people just need 1 session, but sometimes if there are a few issues going on, 2 or 3 sessions are required. So as always, I'm happy to have a free call with somebody. Just drop me a direct message if you want me to send you the link. Okay, you've waited long enough. So here are my 3 concluding and actionable points now that you've got all of this information. So, number 1, once you have become aware of that negative thought or that trigger, decide like a lightning bolt that nothing is worth stealing your happiness. Not anything. Not even an illness. And as Michael Singer says, not even your wife or your husband leaving you, not even losing millions of pounds or dollars, not even the fact that you messed up years ago and maybe caused somebody a lot of pain, not even that. You don't need to live in lifelong remorse to make something right. How is that going to make it better anyway? You don't need it. You don't need that guilt, that shame. You don't need to hold on to it because it is not making you or the situation or anything or anyone better. You are much better off forgiving yourself and raising your own standards when it comes to how you feel or how you want to feel or how you expect to feel. So say to yourself, it's my desire and my expectation to feel good, and I'm going to decide to give it my best shot to let go of anything that gets in the way of that. How do you do that? You remember that nothing really matters, that we are literally on a dust ball hurtling through space, and one day you and me are all going to die, and we're better off. Sounds morbid, but it's true. When we raise our perspective in this way, it helps us to really understand, that life is too short to be unhappy, and we are really not meant to be living our lives unhappy. Step number 2, joy cancels negativity. So the more joy you have in your life, the less negativity can creep in. So this means making a concerted effort to do something regularly, daily, that actually nourishes your soul. Okay, it could be something seemingly useless, something that you might think is a waste of time. Me and my friends were talking about this afternoon, in that, sometimes we even forget to prioritize the things that we love to do. So whether it's getting yourself a singing lesson, whether it's booking a dance class, whether it's painting something, whether it's writing a song, whether it's singing a song, just singing a bit of karaoke, just for the sheer joy of it, to get yourself out of a funky, and by funky I mean bad, headspace. So joy cancels negativity. The more joy you can get into your life, the more negativity will not be able to creep in. And sometimes this does mean facing some fears. I had a fear of going to Zumba, but I had to face it. A fear of going to Zumba, all sorts of reasons, because I get a bit dizzy sometimes and haven't been that fit. And there's all kinds of fears that crop up. There's all kinds of niggly self-doubts and reasons we use to procrastinate. So it's about facing those fears, moving through those fears for the sake of your well-being, of your health. This is, again, about you deciding to choose to do something differently because you have raised your standards for yourself and you want great levels of happiness. Okay, number 3, I want you to really put the effort in to reframing what it is you are being negative about. And I really mean put the effort in. Okay, this is about learning a new language so that you can see things differently. And everything is about perspective. Understand more, deeper, learn more, deeper, deeper, deeper. How deep can you go? Because when you go deep, you create a language, you create a new language that is much more helpful. How do you learn a new language? You have to study it. You have to be immersed in it so that you are literally trying to think in the new language every single day. You know, when I was learning Italian, I went to Italy for a couple of weeks. I was studying it. I was doing a course. I was immersed in it. And I literally had to translate from English to Italian for the whole of those 2 weeks. And it was quite, you know, it did take a lot of RAM, but eventually, you know, you learn it and it becomes automatic. So you've got to treat this like learning a new language and learning it like it's life or death. So if you were in Outer Mongolia, for example, with no translators, and you learning the language was your only means of survival, you would do it. And so you have to treat this learning this new positive language like life or death, because otherwise you won't do it. It's got to be fueled by something, and often that something is when things have got pretty bad. But you don't have to let it get that bad. You can just choose and decide that this is what you want for yourself by raising those standards. So again, this is a daily practice. This is minute by minute, day by day. So instead of thinking to yourself, I'm an idiot for making those mistakes 10 years ago, you say to yourself, I did the best I could with the knowledge I had, and, you know, really believing those things, really turning things around and reframing them, because you did do the best you could with the knowledge and the experience that you had, and you really have to believe those things. So as Marissa Peer, my teacher, says, you are allowed to make mistakes. Of course you are, but you are not allowed to criticize yourself for making those mistakes. And here's why. Because you could choose to think negative, but you can't choose what that does to your body. So it's really important to embrace the little things, to try to see magic in everything, and to paint your life with colour. And again, you know, this all comes down to gratitude, being grateful, or finding things to be grateful for, so that you can start to look at your life differently. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. I am here for you if you want to chat, if you want to ask me any questions, or if you have any comments. Please just ask me, send me a direct message. I always reply. Or if you do want to check out my website, please go and have a look. It's sallygarozzo.com. And that's it. Until the next time, have a wonderful week ahead. Lots of love. Bye for now.